Thank you. This is a question in relation to the National Lottery, which contributes over 220 million a year to good causes, and which now appears to be subject to a very serious threat from the operation of betting on lottery operators, unregulated offshore operators. And I would like to know, Minister, what is the situation in relation to the report that was indicated? Have you received that? Would you make that available?
Ministers, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy, for your question there. I have not yet received a formal opinion from the National Lottery Regulator regarding this topic, which, as the Deputy may be aware, does fall outside the statutory remit of the Office of the National Lottery Regulator. However, I am aware of the issues in question, and the topic has been raised in general discussions as part of the normal engagement that my officials have with the Office of the National Lottery Regulator on matters pertaining to governance and to receive general updates on the regulator's activities in exercising her functions as set out in the National Lottery Act of 2013. In a recent meeting, the OINRL did express concern regarding the potential impact that online lottery betting might have in Ireland into the future. The context for the operation of the National Lottery has changed hugely since its original establishment in 1986. However, the National Lottery remains an important asset, and the level of monies raised for use by good causes has increased steadily in recent years, rising by 28% between 2014 and 2018. As set out in the revised estimates for public services in 2019, estimated total expenditure of €333 million for good causes this year will be part funded by approximately €225 million from the National Lottery, the remainder being funded by the Exchequer. While this is a dynamic and rapidly evolving market, the National Lottery continues to deliver strong results, and as set out in the current operator, Premier Lotteries Ireland most recent 17 reports and financial statements, gross ticket sales rose by 6.1% in 2017. So against this background, there doesn't appear to be any evidence of any significant impact on the lottery arising from online lottery betting at present. However, my officials continue to engage with the regulator and PLI in respect of reviewing the impact of online lottery betting websites on the Irish National Lottery and the Good Causes Fund.
So, can you clarify, Minister, if you have or expect to receive an opinion from the regulator of the National Lottery regarding the threat, which I think you conceded is a threat posed by online offshore bet on the outcome of lotteries, and the impact, therefore, that a negative impact would have on the Good Cause Fund. I'm sure, and you indicated that in your answer as Minister, you do appreciate the 225 million that goes to a wide range of community, sports, culture and other events right throughout Ireland. But the nature of these offshore, unregulated lotteries, other countries have taken action to reduce the risk to their particular national lotteries in order to ensure that the funds are held for good causes. And I want to know, Minister, why you sound so reluctant to intervene in this particular case. And you know, it's a serious problem. Most people who are aware of problems with gambling know this kind of online gambling is becoming more prevalent.
Thank you, Deputy. Well, just to put some figures onto the record of the Dáil regarding the transfers that the National Lottery have made to the Exchequer now over the last number of years. So if we look at where we are if I use any year as a benchmark, for example, if I was to use 2011, the figure was 230 million. It then dipped to 178 million in 2014, and that figure has now rebuilt to 227 million euro. So what I have seen over the last number of years, as I've seen the contribution that the National Lottery are making, has increased, but it has stabilised or maybe plateaued, depending on your perspective on it, between 2017 and 2018. In terms of the engagement that my office and my department have had with the regulator in relation to the matter, the view of the regulator and the last extract that has been shared from me with the last engagement that happened with our regulator is the regulator noted that this could be a long-term issue. But at the moment, the type of gambling that is underway here, that could be a difficulty. The regulator to the lottery, is small in scale. But what we are going to be doing, sorry, just so I conclude on this, apologies, Count Corla, is Deputy Minister David Stanton will be bringing a report to government shortly in relation to the regulation of the gambling sector. And I think that will provide a valuable platform for dealing with this issue.
Your final question.
Can I just say that because of the speed of development in relation to unregulated offshore gambling in this area, but also I appreciate in a whole lot of other areas, I have to say we have heard about the gambling regulator and the gambling regulation legislation over a very, very long period of time. And despite all the talk, nothing has happened. I acknowledge, Minister, you may wish to see that introduced, but the threat that is there to the National Lottery is actually in the here and now, and I think in the here and now is the time, notwithstanding whatever Minister Staunton is going to do, which we'll welcome in due course when he does it. In the here and now, I think this particular problem does need to be addressed. I think it would be foolish to simply say we can leave that to one side until we bring in this big gambling regulator office. You know, maybe it will happen, but maybe it won't happen because it has been very, very slow to materialise. I'd appreciate any advice from them, but I don't know when it's going to come.
Response, 1 minute, Minister.
We'll be getting a report from Minister Staunton and of the Interdepartmental Working Group on Gambling very soon. And it appears to me, Deputy, that the only way in which we can deal with this issue is to look at how we can review and maybe change the 2013 general scheme of the Gambling Control Bill. The facts indicate and the figures indicate, Deputy, that the current contribution that the National Lottery is making to good causes has not been yet materially affected by other developments within the lottery sphere in terms of online or electronic lotteries. The contribution that the Exchequer has received from the National Lottery attests to that. But I do acknowledge that currently that competition is small. I do acknowledge that it can grow quickly, and were it to grow quickly, it could in turn affect the contribution that the National Lottery can make back to good causes. But we have to look at all of this from a regulatory perspective, and the best and most effective way that this can be done is through the review that's been undertaken now of the 2013 scheme.